The chilly evening wind drifted across the crowded train station as people hurried in different directions, each carrying their own worries, hopes, and destinations. Among the rushing footsteps and echoing announcements, a young woman named Elena stood alone near the platform's pillar, her fingers trembling around the straps of her worn-out backpack. Her clothes were simple, not dirty, but clearly old, and her eyes carried a heaviness that came only from enduring too much for too long. The world moved around her, yet she felt invisible in the middle of it all. The train she was supposed to board had been delayed, and she had been standing there for almost an hour. But the delay wasn't the reason her heartbeat felt uneven. It was the small letter, folded tightly inside her pocket, a letter from the hospital telling her that her mother's condition had worsened, and without immediate treatment, there wasn't much time left. Elena had no money, no job stability, and no relatives to rely on. She needed help, but life had taught her that help never arrived easily. She tried to maintain her composure, but her eyes stung with tears she was tired of hiding. She leaned her head against the cold wall and whispered, almost silently, "I just wish someone held me, just for a second." She wasn't talking to anyone. She didn't expect anyone to hear. She just needed to feel like the world hadn't abandoned her. But someone did hear. A tall man in a dark overcoat, walking with steady, confident steps, slowed as he passed by her. His gaze was sharp, observant, yet gentle, and the moment he saw her shaking shoulders, something inside him shifted. He didn't know her story, but her quiet plea echoed inside him more deeply than he expected. He stopped a few steps ahead, unsure if he should approach. People rarely wanted strangers near them, but something told him she wasn't afraid of people. She was afraid of being alone. He walked back toward her slowly, keeping his voice soft. "Excuse me. Are you all right?" Elena quickly wiped her tears, embarrassed. "I'm fine," she whispered. "You don't look fine," he replied softly. "Is everything okay? Do you need help?" She shook her head. "I'm just tired. That's all." He hesitated, then gently asked, "Did you say you needed a hug?" Her face turned red instantly. "No, I didn't mean anyone had to. I was just talking to myself. Sorry." The man's voice remained calm, almost comforting. Sometimes people don't need advice. Sometimes they just need someone to stand with them. He opened his arms slightly, not forcing her, only offering. "If it helps, I can give you that hug." For a moment, Elena froze. She didn't know him, didn't know if trusting him was safe. But his eyes didn't hold danger. They held warmth, something she hadn't received in months. And she was so emotionally exhausted that even 1 second of kindness felt like salvation. She stepped forward slowly. He wrapped his arms around her gently, a respectful, warm embrace, the kind of hug people gave when they wanted to protect someone, not take advantage of them. The moment she rested her head on his chest, her tears broke free. She cried quietly, her body shaking, and he stood still, letting her feel whatever she needed to feel. What neither of them knew was that this hug would change both of their lives. When she finally pulled away, she felt lighter, almost able to breathe again. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "You didn't have to do that." He shook his head. "I wanted to." She forced a small smile. "Thank you, really." The man glanced at the clock above them. "Are you waiting for a train?" "Yes," she nodded. "But it's delayed. And I'm trying to get to the city hospital. My mom is there." He noticed the pain behind those words. "Is she okay?" Elena hesitated, then spoke the truth. "She needs surgery. I don't have the money." "I work wherever I can. Cleaning houses, waiting tables, street stands. But it's never enough." Something inside the man tightened, but he didn't show it. "Do you have anyone helping you?" he asked. "No," she said. "Just me." He took a breath as if making a silent decision. "Let me help." Elena shook her head immediately. "No, please. I don't want money from strangers. I don't want pity." "It's not pity," he said firmly. "It's compassion. And compassion isn't charity, it's humanity." His voice softened. "If someone's drowning and you throw them a rope, it's not pity. It's what anyone with a heart would do." Her eyes filled again, but she swallowed hard. "Why would you help me?" "You don't know me. I don't need to know you to care," he said gently. Before she could respond, the speaker announced her train's arrival. She picked up her bag. Thank you for the hug and for caring. Even if it's just words. The man smiled sadly, sensing her hesitation. At least let me walk you to the train. She nodded quietly. As they walked, he observed her carefully, noticing the frayed zipper on her backpack, the worn-out shoes, and the brave smile she wore like armor. When they reached the train door, she turned to him. I never asked your name, she said. My name is Adrian, he replied. She smiled faintly. I'm Elena. They shook hands. But Adrian felt something tug inside him, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. Elena boarded the train and he walked away slowly, watching her disappear inside the crowd. But what Elena didn't know was that Adrian was not an ordinary stranger. He was one of the richest men in the city, a billionaire with investments, businesses, and influence powerful enough to change the fate of thousands. He lived in penthouses, attended meetings with world leaders, and had everything money could buy. Yet wealth had never made him feel fulfilled. He moved through life with a quiet emptiness that no luxury ever filled. Until that moment, when he hugged a young woman who had nothing but still carried a heart full of courage. As the train moved away, Adrian pulled out his phone. Mark, he spoke to his assistant. Find out who is admitted in the city hospital under Elena's family name. And cover everything, immediately. The assistant paused. Everything, sir? Everything, Adrian repeated. And make sure she never finds out it came from me. At the hospital, Elena rushed inside, her heart beating fast. She reached her mother's room and froze when she saw the doctor approaching with a relieved expression. Good news, the doctor said. Your mother's surgery has been approved and fully paid for. She'll be taken in shortly. Elena blinked in shock. Paid? By who? We were informed that a sponsor covered the entire cost, the doctor replied. She shook her head. That's not possible. I don't know anyone who could do that. Sometimes, the doctor smiled, good things happen unexpectedly. Tears slid down her cheeks. She didn't know how. She didn't know why, but her mother now had a chance to live. She held her mother's hand as nurses prepared everything. Her mother whispered weakly, Elena, don't cry, my child. I'm just happy, Mama, Elena whispered. Everything is going to be okay. For the first time in a long while, she believed it. 3 weeks passed. Her mother recovered beautifully, and Elena worked double shifts to manage daily expenses. But every time she thought about Adrian, the stranger who hugged her when she needed it most, her heart warmed. She wondered if she'd ever see him again. Life had a surprising answer. One morning, while Elena was cleaning tables at a small cafe, she looked up and froze. Adrian stood at the entrance. She nearly dropped the tray in her hands. You're here. He smiled gently. I was in the area. Thought I'd get a coffee. Elena laughed softly. You came to a tiny cafe instead of a big restaurant? Maybe I prefer simple places, he chuckled. She handed him a menu, but he didn't open it. Do you have a break soon? She hesitated. In 10 minutes. I'll wait, he said, taking a seat. She rushed through the remaining orders, her heart racing. Why did he come? What did he want? When her break came, she sat across from him, nervous. How's your mother? He asked. She's doing better, Elena said with deep gratitude. Thank you again for that hug. It meant more than you know. Adrian nodded, hiding his knowledge of the hospital costs. I'm glad, he replied. They talked about life, fears, dreams. Adrian found himself opening up about loneliness, despite his wealth. Elena talked about her struggles, her determination to keep going, and her wish to someday live without fear. Adrian admired her bravery. Elena admired his kindness. Day after day, he visited the cafe, sometimes for coffee, sometimes for conversation, sometimes just to see her smile. What started as a chance encounter slowly grew into a bond neither of them expected. But Elena still didn't know who he truly was. That truth came out unexpectedly. One evening when a news channel aired a segment on Adrian, Hail, the billionaire entrepreneur. When Elena saw his face on the screen, her heart nearly stopped. That's Adrian? She whispered to herself. He's a billionaire? Shock crashed into her. She didn't know whether to feel betrayed, embarrassed, scared, or something else entirely. Why would someone like him care about someone like her? The next day, she didn't go to work. She spent hours thinking, and crying, and thinking again. When Adrian arrived at the cafe and found out she wasn't there, worry spread across his face. He immediately went searching for her. He found her sitting alone near the same train platform where they'd first met. "Elena," he said softly. She didn't look at him. "Why didn't you tell me who you were?" "Because I didn't want that to change how you saw me," he replied. "Well, it did," she whispered. "You're a billionaire. I'm just me." He stepped close and sat beside her. "You're not just you, you're kind, strong, brave. You work harder than anyone I've met. You care about others even when you're struggling. That's worth more than money." She shook her head. "You helped my mother, didn't you?" He froze. "How did you know?" "I didn't," she whispered. "But now I do." Adrian sighed. "I didn't want you to feel indebted. I just wanted you to have hope." Elena looked at him, really looked at him, and realized he wasn't a billionaire trying to save her. He was a man trying to be there for her. She exhaled slowly. "You changed my life, Adrian." He reached for her hand gently. "You changed mine first." For the first time, she didn't pull away. They sat together as the evening light filtered across the station, the world moving around them just like the first day, but everything was different now. After a long silence, Adrian whispered, "Do you want a hug?" Elena leaned into him, her head resting on his shoulder. "This time," she said softly, "I'm the one who needs it." He wrapped his arms around her again. No hesitation, no boundaries, only warmth. The same warmth that had brought them together. The hug that began with a stranger's compassion had grown into something deeper, stronger, and real. Life had taken two people from completely different worlds and brought them to the same moment, proving that kindness had the power to change everything. And as they held each other in the middle of the busy station, neither of them felt alone anymore.